everybody, and welcome to today's Wild and Brave free training. Today, we are on week 2 of expanding our level of presence so that we can really have joy and make things happen this summer. So, I'm going to join on my phone here so I can see everyone who joins with us. I want to welcome you. In less than 30 minutes, we're really going to have tackled one of the biggest roadblocks to being truly productively, happily present. And we're going to go over some simple scientific ways to really turn down the volume on the worry in your world. So come join us. I'm going to see who's in the comments with us live today. If you have a friend who you know values being present and would really like to be more positively engaged in a way that doesn't keep them stuck in the worry cycle, you can always tag them or share this broadcast with them. I definitely want to hear what you say. So whether you are live with us, you can say hello in the comments. If you're watching the replay on wildandbrave.com or right here on the Facebook page, make sure you participate just like you're live. It really deepens the experience for everyone who comes after you. And if you tag me, Morgan Hendrix, with any questions or feedback you have, I'd really love that because I definitely want to hear what you have to say if you're watching the replay with us today. You guys know me. I'm Morgan Hendrix, one of the Wild and Brave coaches here. And today's topic is one I've really been captivated by for the past couple of weeks. In our research on how to really tap into the big potential that we all have, it could at least be partly summed up by saying we bring our genuine strength to the present moment together. And that's how we tap into our big potential. All throughout June, we're really tackling the present moment part of that formula. And we cannot deal with being present without taking a swing at some of the enemies of being present. So when you are trying to be present, when you're trying to bring all your best here, whether it's to a conversation, maybe you want to bring your best stuff to a project at work, whatever it is that you're wanting to bring your best to, what is it that tends to hold you back? You can share in the comments what trips you up, what seems to kind of hold you back when you try to be present. We have noticed, I often hear stress, whether people have a lot of things that they're thinking about or they have a lot of things that they need to be done. That can make it hard for a lot of people to be present. I know a lot of my other clients will say things like being tired, whether they're sleep deprived or they're exhausted from trying to reach for a goal. When you're exhausted, it can be difficult to really enjoy or bring your best to the moment. So you can share in the comments and see what other people are saying they struggle with when they want to be present, what kind of knocks them out of the ball game. Sometimes just being we'll say we're distracted, but I will say hands down, most frequently the thief of our presence really does seem to be worry. When we're doing what Brene Brown calls dress rehearsing failure, we worry about a negative outcome that we want to avoid, but we live our way all the way through it. We may play that whole movie forward in our heads about what could go wrong, how it could go wrong, what that would cost us, what it would cost someone we love, how it could hurt our career or our wallet or our self-image. Sometimes the worry isn't even just dress rehearsing failure once or thinking through one most terrible outcome. Sometimes we will thoroughly think through every possible way that things could go wrong. It's like a nightmare version of the kids' books, the choose your own ending books. I loved those growing up. They even have something like this now on Netflix. It's Bear Grylls. I think it's called You versus Wild. And the viewer, me obviously, I get to choose all along the way significant choices that change the outcome of the story as you watch. It's actually a lot of fun getting to decide if Bear has to swing across the like on vines across the canyon, or if he's gonna crawl across a rickety rope bridge. I will admit I did ruin his whole thing. He had to get extracted once I made bad choices on You versus Wild. But when we do this, when we're worrying, hey Danny, Good to see you live. And you can tell us what you worry about, what kind of keeps you from being present when you're not able to be present. You actually do a very good job of being present with people. So Danny does a wonderful job of that, if you've ever known him. But when we're dress rehearsing failure and we think through and worry through all of the possible bad outcomes that could happen, it's like a create your own nightmare story of how bad everything could go. And when we do it in our lives, it's way worse than just stranding Bear with an incoming tide in the mangroves where he's got to get extracted. At least Bear didn't die when I messed up my choices on You versus Wild. But when you do this in your life, a lot of things die. Your energy dies. Your creativity dies. Your clarity, your decisiveness, your excitement, your confidence. Oh man, confidence is one of the biggest things that tends to die. Usually your progress gets interrupted, your success. In the end, the best case scenario when you've been doing this create your own nightmare ending is that all of those horrible imaginings don't come to pass and you end up okay, but you're exhausted by the experience. Who out there has noticed that sometimes the way you go about your life can be exhausting? You may be in a business where you have a rank and you rank advance, but you pretty much need a month off to recover from the relentless angst from the months leading up to your rank advancement. Or maybe you get a raise, or you get a project, or a new big client, but you're strung out as you begin working on it because you feel like you barely made it. Sure, it came together, but it actually felt like a near miss. There are a lot of ways we worry, and worry looks different on different people. But today I want to tackle just one major reason that we keep worrying. It's a reason I rarely hear talked about. The only person I've heard really talk about this actually is Sean Acor, and I think he's brilliant, not just because his sister's a unicorn. Sean and I agree that even though it's killing us, and adding misery to the experience of our lives, we actually keep worrying because we think it's wise or we think it's kind. We think if we're wise, we're going to worry about things that matter as a way of being responsible. And if we're kind, we're going to worry about the people we care about as a way of loving them. How often do you worry about someone you love? You can put in the comments, you can give, my favorite is the facepalm emoji. I will say that to me is the funniest emoji, facepalm. Maybe you put some hearts because you have a lot of people you love. If you're a parent, you worry, right? And you wouldn't worry so much, but you love your kids. Not a little love. You would jump in front of a bullet for your kids. That's how much you love them, even if they hurt you. Even if they don't seem to understand or they completely fail at loving you back, you love them. We find ourselves turning up the volume on our worry often to match the level of love of the person you're worrying about. You may even worry about your acquaintances when they're right in front of you, or your friends whenever they come to mind. But you worry about your family when you breathe, right? You can share in the comments if this is kind of been a way of life for you. I know many of us were raised this way. We were raised to believe that worry is a form of love. Now, how about worrying as a way of being responsible? I know a lot of really smart, very highly engaged professionals who feel it's actually their responsibility to worry about their projects, maybe worry about their clients or the quality of their work. They think that if they don't think through everything that could go wrong and prepare at least some sort of backup plan in case everything goes wrong, that they're not really doing their job. Often, it's actually the first thing they prepare. Hey, Farron, welcome. Glad you're live with us today. We're talking about worry. And you as a mom of boys, I know you have plenty of love going that direction. And it's easy to worry about the people we love. With work, often the first thing we prepare is an act of worrying, even before we finish planning how to make the most of an opportunity. Even before we're willing to consider the opportunity, we feel responsible to prepare for the worst. Who has done this? Who feels this way? Unfortunately, the better you are at preparing for the worst, and the earlier on in the planning process that you do your fallback planning, the less of your best wisdom and energy is used on planning for success. You're already using it up preparing for the worst. But this is pretty prevalent out there, right? You can share in the comments if you were trained this way. Do your worst case scenario planning first before beginning your success planning. The problem is, when we worry like this, it completely robs us of our presence. It robs us of our best performance and our strongest connection. Quality thinking and genuine love can only be given and received with presence. If you get nothing out of today but this one thing, I hope it is this, that worry does not equal love. And I know that that's so common out there. That's the common thought, but worry does not equal love. And most of the failure planning we're doing is actually not an act of prudence or wisdom. It's stealing from us. It's weakening our ability to really show up in a meaningful way. Now, Farron shared with us, she says, I have a problem with expecting the worst to happen and then end up not pushing for the best. Farron, it's not just you. I'm proud of you for recognizing that when you do that, you end up not pushing for the best, because that is what happens. When all your best energy goes first to preparing for the worst, it's taken away from being able to push for your best. So thanks for sharing, Farron. Hey, Alyssa, glad you're on with us. We are talking about worry and how worry does not equal love. If you were raised thinking that being responsible means planning for the worst and that loving means worrying about the people we love, you're going to love today, because we've got something to do. We want to turn down the volume on our worry. Here's the practical way. It's an alternative to dress rehearsing failure and all that contingency planning and worst case scenarios. So if you want that, put an emoji in the comments. I always love seeing the yes, I want it in the comments. Sometimes being ready for a new way of doing things is all that it takes, because you can have massive breakthroughs today. It's a Tuesday, and there is no reason that this Tuesday can't genuinely change things in the way that you go about your life. So if you want to turn down the worry volume and bring more of your best, we're going to start with number one, and maybe someone can type it in the comments for me. Number one is treat worry like a signal. All right, it's a red flag. It's a little fun alert that goes off on your phone and reminds you to do something. When you feel worry come up, it means you need something. So instead of jumping on the worry train, we're going to say it's just a signal. It isn't that my phone is about to blow up. If you have an alarm that goes off on your phone, it doesn't mean your phone's going to explode. Thank you, Farron. It means that your phone is reminding you to take care of something you need to do. So you're going to treat worry like a signal and see what you need. Number two is you're going to identify the real need. It's number two, identify the real need. We have real needs that need to be addressed when worry pops up. One of the most common, I'm going to give you three. If we're feeling disconnected, that's a real need. Often when the worry is over someone we love, it's because we have gotten disconnected in some way to what is happening in their lives. If you're feeling disconnected from your teenage daughter who's making choices about which parties to go to or which school to choose when she graduates high school, if you're feeling disconnected, your worry is going to increase. I don't know what she's going to choose. When that happens, your real need is to reconnect to her and the process and become more of a part of her life, not to simply be isolated by your worry. So maybe you feel disconnected. Another real need is if you're uninformed. This happens at work a lot, where you might be concerned that as you work on a project down the road, new information is going to pop up and it's going to throw off your plan. That being uninformed is a real need, and you can serve and focus on that real need. we're feeling unprepared. When we worry, it's because we're unprepared. I always worry, I had the signal to worry when I'm getting close to a cool opportunity that I haven't done any brainstorming about, or a live that I'm going to do that I haven't prepared my notes. So once you identify the real need, you can then pay attention to the thing that actually deserves your response. Which takes us to number 3. Choose your response to the worry signal. All right? Choose your response to the worry signal, because you're in the driver's seat. When worry pops up, you get to decide what you're going to do about it. You can't take worry out of your life completely without reducing your connection to other people. Worry is, or your projects. This can be at work too. When you, hey Damien, when you want to stop worrying, it isn't best to try to stop caring. It's best to see what the worry is signaling you to and focus there. All right, so we've got 3 valid responses to these worry signals, and they're what we're going to focus in on today. When you see and engage in these responses, it makes you better rather than depleting you. This is a way to actually love people, a way to be responsible. So valid response, we're going to call it response A. Response A is to engage with curiosity. When our minds fill with worry, our ears close. Who's ever noticed that happen? It may have happened to you with someone you're talking to. And the person you're talking to, they freak out. Maybe they're on your team at work and you've identified you're going to go for a big goal. And they need to be involved if you're going to make your goal. Oh, they might start to worry. And as the worry fills their minds, you see them glaze over and their ears close. Instead of letting your brain fill with worry, we can use another good example. Hey, Jonna, another example, say you have a child who wants to go to a slip and slide birthday party. And they're like, hey, my best friend's having a slip and slide birthday party. It's going to be so much fun. All right. Your brain could fill with worry. If you've ever been on a slip and slide, you know that the next trip sometimes ends up being the dentist because you've knocked your teeth into something that wasn't going to move. Sometimes you're out in the sun all day. You might get sunburned. There are plenty of things to worry about with a bunch of kids at a birthday party, right? This is just an example. But instead of telling your child all of the terrible things that could happen at the birthday party, instead, take number A. A is engage with curiosity and ask questions to get excited about what she's excited about. Even if the opportunity is not something that you think is good for her. Say it's something, a little more terrifying, like going to the wrong school, or someone on your team announces they're going to stop answering email. Right? Your brain could start to fill with worry because if they quit answering their email, you can just imagine all of the angry clients, all of the emails of yours that you're not going to get responses to. Instead of freaking out, you're going to engage with curiosity and say, oh, not answering your email? What's the goal there? Where did you get this idea? How are you going to stay connected with the team while you're not answering your email? And as you explore with them, side note, what questions and how questions are a great way to explore with people. If you engage with curiosity, you start to see a more full picture, and you can begin to have actual influence in the situation because you aren't talking at the other person. You've engaged with them. All right. So fun little questions. I was brainstorming the example with the slip and slide birthday. You could be asking your daughter, what she's excited about the party, who she's looking forward to seeing, if she's able to go, what could be a strategy to keep you from getting sunburned if you're outside for 6 hours? Or if you have a lot of commitments and you say, since we have other commitments that day, how do you think you could enjoy this party if we could only stay for an hour, right? When you engage with them and talk in that way, whether it's a family member or it's a project at work, It's amazing what your curiosity can do to get you into a productive place instead of making you deaf and dumb with worry. All right. Valid response to worry signal number 2, or we'll call it B, is build some runway. All right. Sometimes you feel like you're flying blind because you are. Okay. As crazy as it sounds, we waste tons of energy worrying what will happen if we stay in the dark, instead of putting that same effort into finding the light switch. We've got to get the information we need if we need information. We've got to talk to the people involved if the people involved are influencing the outcome. If people are a source of uncertainty or a problem, we need all of our energy to go into leadership and communication skills to warm people up and take them with you. This could even sound like owning a challenge and inviting people to come with you to face the challenge. When you build runway, sometimes you extend and improve your takeoff. You stop flying blind because you get the information and you get the collaboration with the people who are needed. All right, so sometimes you need to build some runway, and worrying doesn't lay down any track. All right, and valid response to the worry signal C is expand the payoff. One of the biggest questions that keeps us worrying is, will it be worth it? All right, you ever think that, oh, will this be worth it? I mean, it's a lot of work, and yeah, I could do it, but is it gonna, would I be better off just staying home and watching Netflix instead of going out to this networking event tonight? Is it even gonna be worth it? If you can increase the payoff of what you are doing, it increases the chance that you will be able to have peace with the risk, that the effort is worth it. So who's ever had that exact situation where you're trying to decide whether to take advantage of an opportunity? Maybe it's networking, maybe it's a meeting, maybe it's an appointment, maybe it's even working with someone like a coach, and you say, I could hire a coach. I have something I'm trying to accomplish, but is it going to be worth it? Is it going to be worth the time on the phone and the dollars I've paid? And you say, what could expand the payoff? When you get ready to enjoy and bring your best to an opportunity, you want to make sure you're increasing the payoff as much as you can. If it's something like a networking event or an expo, something you're going to try to build your connections for your business, a couple of ways I like to expand the payoff is I try to coordinate with somebody else to go with me, because that builds the connection with that person. Then, even if I'm not really excited by any of the vendors I see, the payoff was extended to investing in that relationship. You could also expand the payoff if you're choosing networking events. Some networking events you go to can support other goals in your life, like being healthier. You go to one of those meetups that's a bike ride, a social bike ride, or where you're cleaning up. Maybe there's a really cool group around here that tries to clean up beachfronts and parks. And so a group of people will get together, meet, make new friends, and you clean up an area. And so that expands the payoff, because I want to help make this planet healthier. And so even if I don't meet any new faces and it's just people I've met before, my networking goal of meeting new people isn't met, I still have the expanded payoff of I was more physically healthy because I was active. I feel great about improving the planet because I feel responsible for that. And I've stayed connected to people who were already in my circle. So expanding the payoff turns down the volume on the worry, because you don't have to have only that one single payoff pan out in order for it to be worth it. I will say, oh, thanks, Farron, you're so sweet. But yeah, if you think about it that way, how do I expand the payoff? It becomes less about, oh, I don't want to make the wrong choice. I don't want to waste the evening or my 5 minutes without the kids while I have childcare. It becomes less about misering your moments and more about, okay, how can I make this worth the most? When you do this and you're switching your focus to expanding the payoff, you'll find that you can always add in, if you're present, you can learn, you can enjoy, and you can connect along the way if you're present. So say you're going to a normal networking event at a local restaurant. They have it, before happy or during happy hour, and it's just helping you meet other business people. And you say, you know what? While I'm there, I'm going to just really be present. I'm going to maybe learn something. A lot of those things, they'll have somebody talking about their business. Maybe you learn something. If you're present, you can learn it instead of digging in your bag and counting faces who aren't here. No, listen to the person who's talking. You might learn something. You might enjoy yourself. Well, why don't you get something tasty? Something to just, maybe you needed an afternoon or an evening where for an hour you're just going to breathe. There's probably music. Some people are in a good mood. Let yourself enjoy it. That expands the payoff. I wasn't stuck behind my computer writing things or answering emails. I enjoyed myself at a beautiful restaurant. And also connecting. If you're present, connections you make are never linear. They can expand the payoff in exponential ways. In the end, the only thing you have to really commit to is taking back the real estate that worry is stealing from you by diverting that energy away from the worry train and putting it toward what you actually needed. Being present will help you do that. All right, so this week's Wild and Brave challenge is to just simply identify where in your life you're actually have been proud of worrying because you've seen it as a sign of love or being responsible. And see if that worry is stealing your ability to be present. Are your ears closing when you start worrying? Does it take you to this horrible place? You're not being present. It takes your ability to feel peace and joy and think clearly. So that's the challenge this week. I want you to identify where in your life have you been proud of worrying because you were thinking of it as a sign of being responsible or love. And if it's not serving you, commit to turn down the worry in that area of your life and become present so you can bring your best to it. All right, so we're going to wrap up with 3 last tips. We'll call them, this is 4, 5, and 6 of turning down the volume on worry. Is you're going to put the worry in perspective of its likelihood. All right, the likelihood that that negative event is going to happen. Say plane crash is an example. Some of us are more uncomfortable flying than we are driving. And you've heard people overcome their fear by recognizing, they say, I get a little nervous getting on airplanes, but the plane going down is actually a lot less likely than me having a crash if I'm driving my car. So what they're doing is they're turning down the worry by recognizing the likelihood that planes go down in general. You can also turn down the volume by saying the likelihood that the negative event will happen to me by asking, has this ever happened to me before? If you're in school or you're studying something or you're running a business and your fear is, I'm gonna sound dumb at tomorrow's meeting, or I'm gonna be unprepared for this client's question. You can ask yourself, how often does a client ask you a question that you genuinely can't answer or find the answer to? How often has it happened to you? Sometimes our worries signal we need to prepare, but sometimes our worries are they're just false. If you ask this question, how often does this happen to me? How often do I fail a class? How often do I have terrible notes at the end of my conference? How often has it actually happened to me that somebody told me they thought I was stupid? If you can put your worry in perspective of it never having happened to you, or only happening to you maybe once in every 100 times, you can turn down the volume and say, it's possible, but it's really not the most likely outcome. All right, so that's tip number 4. Put worry in perspective. How likely is it? Number 5 is give your first energy to dress rehearsing success instead of failure. When you dress rehearse success, you think it through, you live the movie, you make your choices in your mind. When I get asked to speak, I will talk about this. When I talk about this, I will offer this free gift. When people take my free gift, I will, and you fill in the blank. Dress rehearse the success. When you do this and you follow where it takes you, it helps you prepare and it moves you into positive action. Number 4 might be my favorite. Dress rehearse success first. Because when you do that and your brain gets filled with the success possibilities, it gets you in the mode to take action and prepare and make success happen. We'll wrap it up with number 6, which is to bring your strengths to the party by recognizing what you do well and what you've done well in the past. If you're worrying that no one's going to enjoy your presentation, it may not be because you're unprepared. It may be because you're failing to give yourself credit for how great you do at preparing interesting presentations. If you have a strength of communication, remind yourself of that when you're worrying. You start worrying sometimes because you care. This is why I added this one here about your strengths, is if you are worrying as an act of love or worrying and as a way of being responsible, it means you are downplaying your strengths instead of recognizing where your strengths are and turning the volume up. So bring your strengths to the party. Recognize what you've done well at, what you have a capacity to do. And as you do that, you will move your brain and your heart in the direction of real success. So who's going to take the challenge? Who's going to identify where they have been worrying and being proud of it because it was a way of preparing? Who's going to identify that area and commit to bring themselves back into the present? Even if you just try one of these things, I would love to hear how it goes for you. You don't have to do them all. Usually one of the tips will resonate more than another, but take a stab at this week, because if we do a good job, oh, looks like our signal's a little weak. If you connect to the success potential and the love that you feel, you will do a much better job of making amazing things happen for the people you care about and the projects that matter. So thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week with our next installment. We're sticking with presents all this month, and you can check out our events on our Facebook page. The events tab has all the fun upcoming stuff in it. If you didn't catch yesterday's breathing exercise, remember every Monday we're breathing together, because that's one of the fastest ways to become present and just get in this moment. Even if it doesn't last forever, it does something positive for your health. So we will see you. Hang out on the Wild and Brave Facebook page. Check out our blog and be present this month. Thank you for being with us. Have a great day.